In the summer of 2020, America was on fire. The death of George Floyd didn't just spark protests, it cracked something open across the country. Millions took to the streets, demanding justice, accountability, and change. Some protests were peaceful, others spiraled into chaos. But one tragedy would come to symbolize something even deeper than riots or police violence. It was the death of a teenager, not killed by police, not during an arrest, but shot inside a protest zone and left without help. His name was Antonio Mays Jr., and years later, a jury would decide that what happened to him wasn't just tragic, it was preventable. This is the story of how a moment of national rage turned into a $30 million courtroom reckoning. When the video of George Floyd spread online, it felt like the country stopped breathing. An unarmed man, a police knee, nearly 9 minutes, no mercy. In cities large and small, people poured into the streets. For many, it wasn't just about Floyd. It was about years of anger, fear, and mistrust boiling over. Protesters demanded reform. Others demanded punishment. Some just wanted to be heard. Police departments braced for unrest. City leaders struggled to respond. The line between protest and disorder grew thinner by the night. As fires burned in some cities and curfews went into effect, one question loomed everywhere. Who is responsible when the system collapses? That question would soon haunt a city on the West Coast. In Seattle, protests centered around Capitol Hill. After clashes between police and demonstrators, city leaders made a controversial decision. Police withdrew from the East Precinct. Protesters took control of several blocks, setting up what became known as the Capitol Hill Occupied Protest, or CHOP. Supporters called it a bold experiment, a police-free zone built on mutual aid and activism. Critics called it dangerous. Barricades went up. Armed volunteers patrolled at night. Emergency response became unclear. Police stayed out unless absolutely necessary. Firefighters and paramedics hesitated to enter. For weeks, the city watched CHOP from a distance. Then, on June 29, 2020, everything went wrong. The night Antonio Mays Jr. was shot. Antonio Mays Jr. was just 16 years old. That night, he was riding in a car near the CHOP barricades when gunfire erupted. No one knows exactly who pulled the trigger. What is known is that Antonio was hit, critically wounded. People screamed. Someone yelled for medics. Others grabbed phones and started filming. And then, nothing happened. No ambulance arrived, no fire engine came. No paramedics rushed in. Instead, protesters and volunteer medics tried to help him themselves. They applied pressure. They pleaded with emergency dispatchers. They begged for help. Video later showed the horrifying reality. Antonio lay bleeding while adults argued about jurisdiction and safety. After nearly 24 minutes, he was finally driven out of the zone to meet paramedics. By then, it was too late. Antonio Mays Jr. was pronounced dead. For many Americans, this moment shattered the narrative. A teenager had died, and the city had not come to help. The outrage wasn't just about the shooting, it was about what came after. Critics asked, why were emergency services delayed? Why was a protest zone allowed without clear safety plans? Why did a dying child have to be carried instead of treated? Medical experts later testified that earlier intervention could have saved Antonio's life. His family argued that if paramedics had reached him in time, he might still be alive. To them, this wasn't chaos. It was negligence. The city argued that first responders faced dangerous conditions, that entering the zone posed serious risks, that decisions were made in real time, under pressure. But for Antonio's family, none of that mattered. Their son needed help and the system failed him. That failure would soon be tested in court. Antonio's father filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the city of Seattle. The claim was simple and devastating. By allowing CHOP to exist without adequate emergency access, by withdrawing police and failing to coordinate medical response, the city created the conditions that led to Antonio's death. The trial lasted weeks. Jurors watched disturbing footage. They heard testimony from medics, city officials, and experts. They learned how long it took for help to arrive and why it didn't come sooner. The defense argued that the city could not be held responsible for criminal acts committed by unknown shooters. The family argued that the lack of emergency response was the real killer. When the case went to the jury, the question was no longer political. It was human. Did the city fail a child? The jury's answer was clear: yes. Jurors found that the city of Seattle was negligent and that its failures directly contributed to the death of Antonio Mays Jr. The verdict shocked the city. Seattle was ordered to pay more than $30 million in damages, around $4 million to Antonio's estate, about $26 million to his father. In the courtroom, Antonio's father broke down in tears. No amount of money could bring his son back. But the verdict sent a message heard nationwide. Cities cannot abandon responsibility, even during unrest. A legacy that still haunts America. The protests after George Floyd's death were meant to demand justice. But for the Mays family, they became a symbol of something else. What happens when leadership collapses and systems stop working? Antonio Mays Jr. wasn't a rioter, he wasn't armed, he was a kid. His death and the $30 million verdict that followed forced America to confront an uncomfortable truth. Justice isn't just about how people die, it's about who shows up when they're still alive. And sometimes the most devastating injustice is when no one comes at all.